Hello, welcome to my little build. I'm Doug. Hello, welcome. Ugh, nobody wants to see that. So I am in the process of trying to build the ultimate workshop / man cave. And because of COVID, my work and essentially the entire country is short-handed. And I've been able to work as many double shifts as I want. And I've just been pumping the money into this thing every shift. I save it up and put it into the build. So welcome. If you're new here, welcome. If you are here to build a workbench, hope you find it informational and educational and a little entertaining. Those are all BB guns, by the way. So, I know some people are not gun people. But anyway, I would like to build a workbench. First one. I won't say that. I built that thing out of Unistrut. And it's massive. It's huge. It's heavy. It's big. And it's awesome. And I love it. A Unistrut workbench I whipped together. But I would like two workbenches. One full-size sheet of plywood work table. And one actual woodworking bench. Like a straight up woodworking bench, which is a little different. I was gonna do a little video about it because like the hardest part has been deciding which way to go with a bunch of stuff. Joints, what kind of joints, what kind of even wood, like the style. So this is kind of like my little assembly, staining, painting, little arts and craftsy area. It's pretty sweet. I don't look at it, but it's like 18 feet big. It's gigantic. These are full sheets of plywood up here. Full sheets of plywood right there, so that gives you an idea how big it is. And I was going to maybe sketch up or try and come up with a plan because I am struggling a little bit. So I'm kind of having trouble. And I was gonna try and put together a plan. So there are so many designs. Some of them are so sweet. I've got a super light too. There it is. Oh yeah, that baby's bright. It's almost too bright. How does that look? That is just washing out everything. For now, for the video here, I'll turn it down a little so you can see this better. So I wanted to, what happened here? I still am not finished putting everything up, and I got wiring and extension cords and crap everywhere. Some of these benches are unbelievable. So basically your textbook woodworking bench is way heavier and sturdier and beefier. Big and beefy, just like me. No, so try and get us in a good position to see some of these, hopefully. There are so many cool designs. So this is a very classic sheet of plywood, some 2x4s, and this is the way I'm gonna go for my work table. Now, like at my work, like this one here, we have 100 of these actual like industrial work tables at my work. They're frigging expensive. You can easily go thousands of dollars on a decent work table. Even just the legs, you could buy just work table legs, and even those are like $200-300. The legs they're usually metal and they're usually just these H's that you get. They're so simple. Like here you can see this would come unassembled and you would just bolt it all together. So here are some more woodworking style, and some people even incorporate their saws and their like bins and organizers and compressors. Oh, here is a sort of a mechanics type setup, which I really like these. I was going to try this. So this is just a work table that they have found toolboxes that fit under. They're just right. Well, a lot of these tables are adjustable, and that'll help. But you have to be careful with this too, because these toolboxes come in so many different sizes and stuff. But I like the way it looks. And not really that. It could be, this could actually be better, I think. But my idea was going to be to have something very similar to this with black boxes and dark top. Maybe not, I may even stay light, but of 5 or 6 of these all lined up with a whole bunch of these boxes together all lined up as a whole wall and corner work table thing. So this here is like what you'll find on Amazon, and a lot of other places sell these type of work tables, which are junk. They are junk. You'll assemble them and they are super flimsy. Here is this is that first one, very classic textbook home DIY work tables. And they used all 2x4s, no 4x4s. And they used all what's called butt joints, which is nothing fancy. It's the easiest way to do it. It's like this fastest, easiest, simplest way. It can look pretty good. It doesn't always look good, and it's far from being the sturdiest way. And they also shot the screws right through the top of the table, which I do not plan on doing. I'm not going to have any hardware showing. Here you can see some gaps, but they took 2x4s and put them, here, I'll show you. So like even hardware, there's, you could use lag bolts. We'll find a picture. Sometimes the hardware can really add to the way they look. And when some people do them right, the hardware actually like makes the workpiece kind of jump out, makes your little table look really good. Here are some examples. What was that? I don't know. Okay, these are those metal braces. Okay, those don't really do much for looks. And I actually had made those, and they sell kits that kind of look like that. You just add your own lumber, basically. It's like a little DIY kit you can buy and add your own lumber. So these are kind of nice in there. You see them at Home Depot too. And this is what I tried to mimic with my Unistrut workbench. I saw this at Home Depot and actually whipped out my tape measure, took a whole bunch of measurements and pictures, and basically built this same thing out of Unistrut. And that's what's over there, is that 72 inches long, 24 inches wide. And I made mine real tall. Mine's 38 or 39 inches tall. These are not. These are like, I think 32, very short, these style. And this is actually a toolbox, believe it or not. This is actually a rolling workbench with drawers suited for tools. Oh, these are, yeah, woodworking, mechanic. Those look good too. Those look good too. Your woodworking benches definitely are different. Okay, here's one of the kits. Leg kit. You get plastic legs. They do in fact sell metal ones. And I'd be more likely to get the metal because here where I am, it's minus 50 degrees 9 months a year, and the plastic always gets friggin' messed up. So I would go with metal personally. This is a shelving kit, which you don't really need braces to make a shelf. But the leg kits are nice because for a couple reasons. You don't have to use your own lumber for the legs, so the 2x4s or 4x4s to build the legs are one of your biggest users of your material, so you won't have to use as much material with those, and they will also help you level. Everything's going to be very square and level because of those. And yeah, they do come in a metal kit too, and they also come without the legs, just the corners. It's nice looking. And that's a whole nother thing we'll be finishing. You know, what kind of stain, paint, no paint, just polyurethane. A lot of people will take industrial type file cabinets. You can actually make a very nice looking workbench out of file cabinets. These are all woodworking benches with what they call dog holes. And they're just like little clamp holes, and this guy's got clamps all over that thing. It's a nice one, and that's a nice one. It kind of looks like a dresser, but it is a woodworking table. It's just a straight up 2x4, maybe like a gardening type table. It's actually not that bad. Generally speaking, they say you don't want to run your 2x4s this way because they will start to cup and warp and wave. But these are nice. I was considering these. My problem about these are I can't get them down here. I just won't. I don't think I'll be able to get that down here. It'd be so much trouble. It wouldn't really be worth it to get one of these giant things down here. So I was just going to get the smaller ones. That's pretty sweet. So here's where they took 2x4s and put them on edge. And that's what I would like to do with mine, except the price of lumber is so fucking expensive. We're up to about $9, $10 a 2x4. And if you do it this way, you're gonna need like 25 2x4s. And that's kind of the bummer. So, in looking through all these YouTube videos, I have found a million of them that say, oh, workbench build under $100, under $150, under $100. Most of them say that. Okay. And now, one sheet of Baltic birch plywood is $110 for one sheet of plywood. So, and it's not even top of the line. It's like, it's good, but not top of the line good, but real good. So, and you'll see these videos are all 2-3 years old. There's very few workbench videos that have come out in the past year that will have a price tag on them. None of them. You really won't find one. All the ones that are 2 or 3 years old, all of them are like $100 build, $100 workbench. Those days are gone. We are up to $8, $9, $10 per 2x4, and your shittiest plywood is starting at $75 a sheet and going up from there. So these are very similar to a lot of the benches at my work. So they're very simple, and the weird thing is the metal is not very thick. It's pretty thin, in the way they bend and gusset the metal, or flange it, or whatever they call that. It makes it very strong. So these pieces of metal, if they weren't ridged like they are, they'd be like flimsy as all hell. But these are expensive leg kits. This leg kit would be probably $200 or better. And then you could put your own top on it. A lot of people use doors. It's a very common top, and you can get them pretty cheap. You can go to Home Depot and get a door blank, and they're pretty solid and heavy. That's something common people do. I don't care for those. That's pretty nice. You can just buy those right off the shelf. That's pretty okay. That's not bad. But this first one, that thing was crazy. I'm going to build like what we saw in the beginning. Just a very textbook sheet of plywood, except I'm going to use some better joinery, better joints. This dude dovetailed it. I am going to start practicing dovetails. I love the way that looks. The contrast too. Yeah, those are like hand-cut dovetails. And I'm going to do some videos about that too. I'll start hand-cutting dovetails and learning together. This is a kit too, and this is like that MDF. And MDF is real thick and heavy. It's super heavy, very durable. It's not good in any kind of damp situation though. You're better off with plywood. This one's got joints, so this guy half-lapped a joint. And I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but what he did was notched out one of the legs. So we'll say this would be like the entire leg going up and down. He notched it out so that one of the runners will fit in there. And this gives you like a really good long-term stability. And this, I believe, is called a half-lap. A half-lap joint. And that was, I tried it when I first got that miter saw. This was like the first cut I made. It came out really, really bad. But that is a joint that is very commonly used in workbench layouts and designs. And they're very easy. They're pretty easy to make. The half-lap cutout itself, and you could do it with multiple different tools pretty easily. You don't have to have anything fancy, and it makes a really good joint. That's the old half-lap, I think that's what it is. And again, I was just trying to see how that saw would do and trying to get used to it and stuff, and it came out like crap. But you kind of can get the idea of what I mean. So you can also go 2x4 or 4x4 for legs. And a full 4x4 post is pretty much $15, $16 anywhere in the country at Home Depot. I don't know, I rarely ever see people make a top out of 4x4s. I don't know if 4x4s are prone to warping or if they're too soft or what the deal is. Nobody ever uses 4x4s for a top. They'll use everything else, 2x6s, 1x6s, pallet boards, but never 4x4s. Store-bought, industrial style, adjustable height, which is nice. It adds to the price quite a bit, especially a crank one. And then there's motorized ones too. This is a very nice look. This is my style. I like this kind of look it needs more wood. There's not enough wood. If it had more wood, it would really pop. Oh wait, we're not even looking like, we're not even looking frame. Here's what the last one looked like in case. But that is kind of sweet in my eyes, but that was a grungy old basement. Oh yeah. And again, you got a piece of crappy plywood, and usually you put your good piece on top and you back it with a shit piece underneath it to make it a little stronger. And at 110 bucks, and even the shit plywood at 65, 70 bucks. So here's a good example of hardware, where hardware can really add to the look of your project. Lag bolts, carriage bolts, you know, even deciding what you're going to use for hardware is kind of a big decision, especially if you want like something sweet. If you're just whip slapping together something, you know, most people are just going to use drywall screws, 3-inch drywall screws for the entire project. But there's a lot of options out there like lag bolts, lag screws. You can nut and bolt them. You could paint the heads of them, which would look pretty hot. Stuff like that. So here are a bunch of metal brackets. Some of them are store-bought, and I wanted to try and make them in the machine shop, but I really wasn't able to. They were a little more complex than I was anticipating, and I actually was not able to duplicate these goddamn things. But let me put some more light on, one moment. So I did want to make these. They looked simple until I got my hands on one. But on like Amazon and stuff, I was like, oh man, I can make that, no problem. But no, it was too complicated. I mean, I could have, but it wasn't worth it. I just figured I'll spend $7 each on these, which isn't exactly cheap. I mean, you need, depending on what you're doing, you could actually have these on the top and on the bottom for the drawer or shelf, I mean. And you would also have them on the top. So that's 8 of these. It's $7 plus each. You know, you're almost into $100 on just these. I can't think of what they're called either, but there's all different kinds. There will be some of these that are meant for 2x4s also, and this one is meant for a 4x4. And they're pretty cool. I don't know, you can pretty much envision how they work here. It's helps you, you know, get everything exactly where it needs to be, and it adds stability. They're pretty, I don't know, they make it easier. They definitely make it easier, and you don't have to have them. Certainly don't need them. And you can also get away with making your own. Like I've made 100 different kinds out of all different materials. I even took some unistrut brackets and bent them at 90 degrees. So normally these are flat. And you can even use these for stability. You know, you lag bolt these down and you can use them as brace, like strengthening brackets or connection brackets like this. There you can do a lot with unistrut brackets. I took real thick steel plates, super thick. I should have cleaned these up better. Super thick in case I was going to build something crazy like a massive bench. There are a million different things you could do, and being it's your bench, you could get creative and get a little crazy. I've seen some benches that just are frigging unbelievably gorgeous, and even some of the industrial style or gothic looking. The one guy had painted his like fire red. It looked so sweet. It looked so cool, man. I had made these out of some scrap at work. Super thick, solid steel. You could see how thick this, half an inch thick. And I was just using scrap plates and shit at work of total solid steel, and trying to practice welding and drilling and grinding. I'm a shitty welder, but I did get way better after this. So I made four of these monstrosities, and by the time I was done with the 4 of them, I actually really started to get it. And some of them are still fucking terrible, but as I progressed, they got better and better. And then by the last one, I just suddenly, things were clicking for me with the electrode and the puddle and everything. It's hard to explain. But I did weld. These are all welded together, butt jointed and welded steel bars. And then I ground them down to hide the welds, and they're real lumpy looking because I'm a shitty grinder and a shitty welder. So some of these welds are atrocious, and it's already starting to rust because I didn't properly treat this metal. But again, this is just one example. You could get creative. It's your bench. You could do whatever the heck you want. And you gotta live with it, so you could really doll it up, or just make it a utilitarian and not even bother with looks. Who cares about how it looks? Oh my goodness, they're so heavy. They are so heavy, but you can use them on their own as legs, or you can put them in 2x4s or 4x4s for like a real sturdy leg. And that was the idea with that. I measured them all, made sure they were all exactly the same, so you could have a shelf or whatever. But yeah, or you can even just use them without a 2x4 in there and just have them this way. But yeah, I spend more time trying to figure out how to build it than I will building it. I don't know. I'm so undecisive about everything. Even the joinery. Even the hardware. I've been trying to decide what kind of hardware. There's something about lag bolts that I really like the way lag bolts look. And I'm not a very good joint maker, so I don't know if going with joints is the right idea or the right thing to do, because my joints will look like crap. But I do have like a ton of different things to try out. And one more thing. Earlier you may have heard me say about a lot of people will just screw down their top right through the top, and we'll just have drywall screws, and I never liked the way that looked. So you can actually flip your table over and, you know, make brackets. You can make these out of anything, and you can make them so easy. Just a bench vise, and do it this way. Make sure that you don't punch through. Make sure you're using short enough screws, and you won't see them. You know what I mean? I think that's what I want to do. I don't want to see the screws. Look at the green. Is that green? Pretty. Real pretty. Almost looks like a couple faces. Oh man, I was out of frame again. I am the worst. I can't believe I'm so out of frame on that one, but yeah, instead of, you know, peppering your entire $110 sheet of plywood, you can do it from underneath and never see them. But anyway, you can see I've got a lot of stuff out. Delusions of grandeur. I had planned on doing like all kinds of demonstration type things, and I didn't do any of them. One thing I did want to talk about, so instead of a 4x4, some people are using 2x4s. Most people, a lot of people use just 2x4s. You could like do it this way, which is very common. You can even try and glue them together, bolt them together, but you don't have to. Or this way is very, very common. You'll see a lot of people do it this way and somehow maybe drywall screw them together. That's a very common way. Some people will take the time to take these rounded edges off, which I am in the process of doing right now, and it gives them a very square, it just has a better look, a more professional look. I don't know how to explain it, but I have been taking the rounded edges down through, first with my table saw and then with the planer, because I think they look better when they're edged, squared up, so to speak. So here's an edged one right next to a non-edged one. We're still doing our thing. And for some reason, I really think they look better when they're been planed down a little bit. They'll fit together a little bit tighter. What else? There was all kinds of stuff I wanted to talk about and I didn't even really get to it. You know, there's going to be finishing it, picking your plywood, how thick. Do you want to go 3/4, which is what most people do go with. They'll put 3/4 and then maybe put something like a 1/2-inch piece of regular OSB and glue it underneath for strength and double sheet it. But with the price of lumber, I don't know about that. So again, expect to pay close to $100 a sheet for plywood and close to $10 a 2x4. It sucks. And then New York State at 10% sales tax on top of it. Joy, it's going to be a $500 work table by the time you're done. And that's nothing fancy. That's not using mahogany. Anyway, thank you. And hopefully your workbench will